Okay. Okay, so now I see the meeting room.
All right.
And so I see the
At some point, is Ron gonna come for the meeting, or is he somewhere else?
and I presume he's coming here. I haven't heard.
Okay.
Okay, so it shows one participant, which is this computer then, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so then all I have to do at the end, and it does say recording up here. So then all I have to do at the end is just click end, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll just tell everybody who comes in that the Zoom is already recording.
Yeah. And it would be good if you turned it over to Ron so that people.
Oh, yes.
Have access to be able to mute people if people are talking and they shouldn't be.
Should I do that, or do I have to wait till he logs in?
You have to wait till he logs in.
Okay, and then,
Once he's logged in, down
okay,
there at the bottom of it, it says participants.
okay,
And when you you can click on that right now and you can see only Whitewater's there.
yeah, participants. Okay,
But when he's logged in, you'll see his, and you can click on his or right click on his first, I would. And then you can make it co-host.
right click on pop and then choose co-host.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that because it says right now host me.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, now here's somebody logging in. John. John is connecting to audio. Okay, so I see how it's going to show up. It's going to show up over here on the right-hand side, the list of participants. I'm just going to leave it on that list.
Okay.
Showing that list. So whenever Ron gets here, I can choose co-host.
Yep.
Yep. I
I
think,
think if you right click on John right now, you'd be able to see what the choices are.
when I point at him, there's a more. Okay, I see. Yep, I see you. It's about halfway down the selections.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Perfect. Well, I think
mostly because he may need to mute people, because sometimes people log in and they don't mute. I mean, it automatically mutes them, so they'll unmute it.
okay, but they need to stay muted.
Yes, until it's their turn to talk.
For background noise. Okay, I got it, Lois. We're ready to go here. Well,
all right.
I don't have
Thank
my.
you.
No, thank you. Gosh,
I might log in.
You should. You definitely should.
Just for the beginning.
You know, I'm not going to, yeah, could you do that? And like, give me the list of people, not today or anything, but when you get back, the list of people who are present at the start of the meeting.
Yes.
I don't worry about it after that because, you know, it's who was present like in the township hall. I mean, were there 5 people or whatever? After that, people come and go. You can't keep track of that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So really you care about the names or the number? Just
the number, really. And I don't count any board member in that count. It's people other than board members. Right. So, because we're all on Zoom, you know, yes, with the camera in the room. So
then my question for the planning commission meeting, is the planning commission meeting a separate 6 o'clock meeting, or is it just a time change?
No, it's a separate special meeting. And I'm going to notice that this week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a separate meeting. I mean, it's just going to roll over into kind of the other meeting, but it is a separate meeting. In fact, yeah, those will be separate minutes.
Meeting and reopen for the regular one at 7.
Yeah, because that'll be a separate set of minutes because the other meeting is a regular meeting.
Okay.
That starts at 7 and can't start before 7.
What does she say it is?
Let's see, I haven't done the notice yet, but it's Article 12 setbacks, zoning. Okay, so wait a minute, I gotta write myself a little note here that I need to start the Zoom, a big note.
What do you mean you gotta start the Zoom?
Oh, I already did that. I'm sorry. All right.
You're already done.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself here.
Actually behind.
Behind myself, that's right. Okay, it's, let's see, Article 12 setbacks, zoning ordinance amendments, and there was something else. I don't remember what the third, there were three things. But you'll get a copy of the notice, because you're on my planning commission list, you know, for
Oh, I
distribution.
wonder if she knows that there's held in, never mind, because we're.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay, well, thanks, Lois, for getting the numbers for me there. I appreciate that. And yeah, and appreciate all your help with this. Wish you were here.
Yeah, except that today's gonna be the most perfect weather day.
Really?
I'm not disappointed yet.
Yeah, good. That's awesome. Are you saying you're actually going to be in the office on Wednesday, or you're just coming back, flying back on Wednesday?
No, I'm flying back on Tuesday.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is your last big day then. I better let you go and start enjoying it.
Yes. All right. I will see you Wednesday.
All right. Thanks, Lois.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Township, this is Cheryl. Let me just grab a copy of the agenda and I'll get that for you. Hold on.
Morning, Cheryl.
Good morning.
Roads are a little slippery this morning.
Yeah, just light enough and packed down to.
I think it's this dial by your location.
No, we're good.
Yeah, I was surprised, Williamsburg Road, it was so pretty that was.
Yeah, well, the curves there too are a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, that first curve coming from the south, boy, there's no way you can slow down.
Yeah.
Just the momentum.
6, 7.
How are you?
Everything you got?
It
Good.
was a nice weekend, even though it rained.
Yeah,
And was windy.
that's funny how things change from Friday to Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, my grandkids were up and we were playing outside doing all sorts of things on Friday and we were planning to go to a baseball syrup farm on Saturday. And that was. So I was.
Chilly.
Would have been nice to be another day like.
Right.
just to let everybody know, the Zoom is already recording,
Oh,
which is fine.
yeah, great.
Oh, okay.
Just wanted to let you know. You didn't have to stop talking.
No, I just.
Right.
Well, so this one here, Bill's, there's only 2 people that graduated. That must have been the last year.
You up towards the front, they don't have people there.
Oh, wow. Where are they now?
Good morning.
It's township public, is this,
Yeah, that's, yeah, you can jump on that.
what's the password?
That's our phone number, 231-267-5141. Mhm.
I can't sign
Signed in on Zoom over there,
in. Well,
waiting for you to sign in so we can throw you the co-host.
it's asking for it's asking me to sign into Zoom, which as a participant, you should never have to do that. So then I put in my email address, and then it's asking me for a passcode, but it's not the meeting passcode.
It's right on here.
It's not the meeting
Well,
passcode.
all you have to do is go to zoom.us and just,
Okay, it just logged on.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Must be really slow this morning. Morning, everyone. My goodness. Nothing to do on a beautiful sunny day?
Burned out over the weekend.
Oh, did you thaw out?
Good weekend.
I don't see you signed in on here yet. Oh, there we go. So I'm gonna throw you the co-host right now.
And there's a lot of folks on the.
Sure.
Township maintains, we don't maintain any roads.
Well, the ones that are under our response.
I would, well, we don't have a responsibility to maintain any roads. We do set aside some funds to help for that.
Specifically, what are,
Those roads would be if the board, we bring something to the board to a project.
right,
So it could be on any road. But of course, the road commission has to participate with that, but they have the responsibility for roads. Well, it's rumored that that's going away. We have a meeting, we're gonna have a meeting with them, I guess,
okay,
to find out exactly what that is, but certainly we don't get road funds here.
right.
You know, the county road commission gets all the federal and state funds. So we just put aside a little money here and there where we can. But certainly we can't maintain roads without the county road commission. Mhm,
There is an inventory of roads
mhm.
and those have been graded, as I understand it,
By the county.
and also by the consultant.
Oh, the Grubble? Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that, but
Okay, all right, maybe that's the most relevant list. that happened
Maybe.
last fall.
yeah, I haven't seen that yet because that's not in front of the board, but
I'll talk to Ken.
yeah. Okay, yeah, certainly you should be able to get that. Is it online? Is it on our website? There is a transportation section
Yeah,
that
haven't
Mr.
looked at
Grobel provided that was put on the planning commission page. I would assume it's in there if it's some work product of his. I haven't read that,
yeah,
so I don't know.
okay. Well, I haven't looked for it. out
Right.
there,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I don't.
it does.
Good morning. Maybe we should change our meeting days to Mondays.
Why is that? Pretty good turnout as it is. I don't know what that's, really saying. But that's what that page wants.
Everybody ready?
Yes,
Dylan?
I am.
Good.
Yep.
We will call this welcome to this special meeting for Monday, March 28th, 2022. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Roll call when ready.
Bennett here, Goss here, Pop,
Here.
Baummuth is absent.
Because we're not all present, we won't have any changes to the agenda. Any conflicts of interest this morning? Hearing none, we will move into public comment. Let's start here in the Township Hall. If somebody would like to make public comment, please make your way to the podium and let us know what you're thinking.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Beam. We're building a home at 6847 Baggs Road. I want to thank you, as I always do, for your time and service. I'm also imploring that you get this township in order. Are you listening to your residents? You are stewards and fiduciaries for the township and the township's money. You have a duty of loyalty and care, not your personal agendas. It's time that everybody started working together. That is what we taxpayers want and deserve. Board, please listen to us respectfully. Our township needs help. The board and planning commission have not planned properly. Look at what is happening here in our township. We made the front page of the Record Eagle, not in a very positive way. TC ticker headline. It's an embarrassment. I have gone back through previous planning committee or commission meetings rather. Heidi has attended the majority of them. Maybe you should consider putting her on the planning commission and help get it cleaned up. The development here in Whitewater Township should be guided by the master plan. Based upon Chris Grobel and his expert opinion, there's quite a bit of work to be done here. As you know, we're building on Baggs Road. There is a proposal of 22 homes on 30 acres. That should not be a consideration. And based upon the mess the township is in, there should be a pause until our township is in order. Baggs Road should not be the guinea pigs because planning wasn't done properly. I was at that last planning commission meeting. I'm embarrassed. I was uncomfortable and appalled. Chris Grobel walked out. Carl Robel resigned or is deciding if he's going to. At the beginning of the meeting, we were called angry people, those of us that were in attendance. And at the end, I was actually laughed at. Again, I believe this township needs to pause, regroup, and get guidance. The Planning Commission is in no position to make decisions that will affect the area forever. The master plan states that we are to preserve Whitewater Township's rural character. Vince and Eileen have hit roadblock after roadblock for an equestrian barn on agricultural property on Lassie Road. I understand it's going in front of the Planning Commission next week. Yet Bob Hall didn't address the site condo when it was asked about no green space. They have no plans at all for green space in that site condo or buffering between themselves and us neighboring properties. Go walk that area now. Well, maybe not today with the snow on the ground, but if it is developed, I do not see how they are going to keep water from coming onto our properties. Please get this township in order, start listening to the taxpayers, start working it together and fix our broken township. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rod Rebant, 648 Island View Drive. I want to talk a little bit about what I would call blind luck. I live out in the Island Lake area, and we've had a parcel of land just west of us, 120 acres, that was for sale, at least going back to 2006. And at the time, 120 acres, that's a very buildable property. We've seen, or over that time, we'd seen an evolution of developers coming in, some who wanted to turn that 120 acres into as many as 130 single-family homes. Well, this is an area that is all wells. It would be all septics. So that was an issue to us. We brought that back to the Planning Commission. At that time, the RC1, which that property is marked as RC1, had a minimum size of 5 acres per family or per lot. So the developer pushed us. It pushed the township back at that time. And we went to court and a judge decided the PC was correct in defining it as 5 acres. The developer backed off. Well, since then, we had others that came along, and I'll call them all developers, and they wanted to do something a little different. The horse barn, the horse show, equestrian show wanted that property. Well, that wasn't something that we wanted next door to us. So the property went up for sale again, and a developer came in who worked with 5 acres or larger parcels. He bought the property. He bought it cheap because of the history. He started selling off 5 acre minimums, 22 properties. And there's a parcel that is Union Township. So I won't include that in the next discussion. So 22 parcels, 5 acres minimum, they sold in less than a year, every one of them. They were selling for more than the original price. Now this is 2021, 2020, 2021. So it kind of follows that, you know, valuation was going up for properties. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are 4 brand new homes already on these 22 parcels. They're beautiful homes. These are new families that are moving in. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that we all want rural, we all want residential. It can be done. The township has been arguing whether RC1 should stay 5 acres or less. Several years ago, people were pushing it to 2.5 acres. Well, the market spoke. And I just want all of you to remember that the PC, the township, appeared to be against the 5 acres. I'm kind of fed up with how what has always been, all the years I've been here, that the community wants residential. The community likes rural. We're not really against all of the other things, but there's a place and there's a time. So as we look at what's happening with the PC, I'm really interested in seeing a change. We've been waiting patiently. I think we've seen enough of the issues, the work not being completed on time, a premium consultant who walks away because he can't get the attention of the PC in doing the right things. So it's going to be on this board to find that solution. And as a taxpayer, as a member of the community, I think all of you know that I'm fully vested in trying to make Whitewater Township a better township. I just ask that you give it your full consideration. It's time. We need to move forward and not just spin and spin and spin. Thank you.
Anyone else here in Township Hall for public comment?
Linda Slopsma, Miami Beach Road. So thank you for having this meeting today. I think it is critically important that you took the time to have a special meeting. So I'm going to start with one word, pressure. Pressure and what are our priorities? That's what today's meeting is really about. It's about development pressure without having an updated master plan based on resident input and a clearly worded updated zoning ordinance to reflect that plan. Go ahead and read the last year's worth of zoning administrator reports that show up in every monthly board meeting packet. The zoning administrator reports every month a record number of calls on a variety of zoning topics and states that the township is ripe for development. But what he fails to say is how dangerous it is for the existing residents to maintain their way of life without our existing zoning ordinance, which serves as the rule book, updated properly to reflect what the community wants. In the last 18 months, the township has consumed a huge amount of time and money, more than $100,000 by my count, on marijuana, something that the public in general did not ask for, but 3 members of the board were convinced that they knew better than all of us. Meanwhile, while that's going on, we have developers chomping at the bit to put in high-density housing, high-density campgrounds, pot factories, retail marijuana, short-term rentals, and who knows what else in everybody's backyard, all at the expense of our rural character without having adequate rules and buffers in place. Clearly, we need a timeout to get our master plan and zoning updated and in place quickly. Developers who apply today are not required to follow the rules of tomorrow. You need to contain the problem by placing a moratorium on special use permits immediately. Additionally, don't expose the township to additional litigation costs by accepting marijuana applications prior to having all the processes in place, which the board said they needed last October. This is the second item on your agenda today. The marijuana committee has met twice so far since the October creation of that committee, and the documents are not complete, nor are they approved by the board as of today. Ask yourself, why would we want to take on more litigation risk and be distracted by marijuana prior to the public vote? Possibly the people don't want this in their backyard. Priorities. The focus needs to be the master plan and the accompanying zoning ordinance. It does not need to be special projects at the parks, the marijuana implementation, which, by the way, the lawsuit mediation failed. So the motivation to settle is gone. It's out the window. The vote is in August, the trial's in September. So tell me, what is the rush? Let's let this play out and then take the appropriate action. And then I have to make sure that I mention roads. Everybody uses our roads. Fixing the roads would benefit all the residents and the property owners, not just special interests. I think you all should take a few minutes and drive down some of our roads. I would call your attention to Cook Road, Skagamog Point Road, Broomhead Road. I'm sure there's others, to understand with what we all deal with daily if it's not on your daily commute. I challenge you to actually be able to stay in your lane while doing it. Elk Rapids seems to be able to maintain their roads with the tar and chip process. Why is it that we're not able to do it? What are our priorities? Thank you for your time and attention to what really matters to all of us. I think all of us have lots of opinions, but I think we can all agree that proper planning of our community in the future so that we, the people, are in control, not the victims of developers trying to make a buck. I think we can all agree that that should be the top priority.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll go out to Zoom land. And good morning, Mark. Any public comment this morning? Vaughn, you're shaking your head no. Gotcha. Lois, public comment this morning. Okay. Sherry Bauscher, public comment this morning?
No, thank you. John Boucher.
Very good, Tom. Thank you.
Close.
Connie, good morning. Any public comment?
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to speak at these and to join on Zoom. They're great avenues that allow the township taxpayers to let you know what we're thinking and to hear our voices about things that are important to us. I always have to start in these public comment areas of saying that my husband, Frank, and I are opposed to the condominium development proposed on Beggs Road. I'll continue to cite zoning ordinances and the master plan as reasons for our opposition. In the zoning ordinance, Article 28.12, number 6 says, land subject to flooding or otherwise deemed by the township to be uninhabitable shall not be used for uses that may increase the danger to health, life, or property or increase flood hazard. Such land with a condominium development may be set aside for other uses such as parks or other open space. The site plan, as shown to the PC on March 2nd, had no provision for open space. That parcel of land may not have water running through it in the wintertime or late in the summer when it dries up, but in the spring and during a rainy summer, water runs through the low-lying meadow of all those parcels. The site plan shows condos and a road going right through there. Fill dirt cannot be brought in that will then deflect the water to the adjacent properties. The PC and the board don't know the water issues because you've not seen it. We have because we own it. We've walked it. Please don't let the proposed site plan destroy our properties. On the subject of open space, Article 31, Section 24 states that all planned unit developments shall preserve at least 50% of the parcels as open space in A1, R2, and R3 districts. Again, the proposed site plan has no provision for the open space. How has this condo development gotten as far as this when alone those things are clearly in error? If we don't look to the master plan and ordinances, we will clearly, if we look at them, we will clearly see that a condominium development is not conducive to the beautiful rural area it is being proposed for. And there's several other things that don't seem fitting with a condominium development in that community. There is no other condominium. There are no other 20-acre parcels that have, a 30-acre parcel that have that many homes on it, on 1-acre parcels. So looking back at the March 11th, 22 meeting, and I've watched it over and over again. I've also looked through the meeting minutes from several years past. I see that what went down at that meeting is not anything new. I see that the division and inappropriate behavior is not new with some of these members. I've been told that there's already been members called out for their unprofessional behavior when they're seated as an appointed member of the Planning Commission. Please make the changes within this PC. These people are in charge of very important matters. Our master plan is important and cannot be handled by people that waste taxpayer money and laugh at the residents when they attend these meetings. It is embarrassing and insulting. Our township is in trouble. We count on you, our township board, to guide and make changes so that we are protected. Please work together to make the township a place where we want to live. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.
Mary, good morning, Mary. Any public comment?
No.
Very good, thank you. Barb Klemick, good morning. Any public comment?
Good morning, Ron. Not today, thank you.
Okay. Good morning, John Nolan. Any public comment?
No, Ron, no comment.
Thank you. KG, good morning. Any public comment? Good morning, Bob. Any public comment?
No, Ron. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Hall. Any public comment? And good morning, Doug. Any public comment? Thank you, Doug. And good morning, Vern. Any public comment?
No, not at this time, Ron, thanks.
Thank you. And I see a telephone caller 676-8276. Any public comment this morning? All right. So that brings us to agenda item number 1, discuss the March 11th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Mark Ricky. I have the 676 number that you just called out for. Sorry, I'm driving, so I'll make this kind of quick. So my name is Mark Ricky. I live at 7950 Hoyles Drive. It's become evident to me that the developer from Grand Rapids really doesn't care about the rural activity that we've enjoyed since we moved to Hoyles 4 years ago. I really feel sorry for all of our neighbors who have moved, have lived there forever. Now their dreams are being ruined potentially by this developer. You know, and even just the thought that the developer would take the time and effort to figure out that condos can be built on agricultural land tells you something about the developer. Based on just general experience, I'm sure there's other things in the wind with this developer and others. Maybe this is just the first trial balloon before, you know, the next one comes and the one after that. I just wonder what the developer would think about putting a nightclub at the entry to his or her subdivision down in Grand Rapids. I would be as displeased about that as we are about what's happening here in our own neighborhood. Now, from a planning commission standpoint, I appreciate the effort being made. And one thing I guess I would ask, and I'm fairly new to this, we've only lived in big cities until 4 years ago, so this process is new to me. But it would be helpful to understand if there was interest in becoming parts of a committee, what that process might look like. Again, this is all foreign to me. Maybe somebody could point me in the right direction. You know, when the planning commission says, you know, this is the early phase and a lot of work to be done, I don't know if that's intended to provide comfort, because it certainly doesn't. This means it's early in phase one and there's more to come. So with all that, think about what's going on in Traverse City, the city itself. I read the ticker, I read this and that, and I'm thinking, well, it sounds like everybody's holding hands there, trying to do the right thing, has a vision, working together, understanding issues, opportunities. I guess I wish for that for our community here in Williamsburg. So with all that, I hope there's a coming together where somehow we can find some avenues so that this development doesn't ruin everybody's dreams who live in and around Baggs Road. Because most assuredly, there's plan B, C, D, and E, because we are going to be ripe for other developers to come in and do the same thing. I appreciate your time. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Must have been a delay in muting. I apologize to everyone, but now we'll move on to business item number 1. Thoughts? Would you like to start, Della? Looks like you got some notes there.
Yeah, I do. My concern is doing this the proper way, Ron.
Mhm.
Making sure we're following our policies and procedures.
Yeah.
And not stepping on an employee's rights. I'm not sure what we're gonna, what your idea of what we were gonna be discussing today is. I guess I'm just gonna leave that up to you to start bringing it out. And we'll go from there.
Sure.
I'm not sure what. I mean, I understand the situation. I've listened to the meeting. I watched the meeting. I took my notes there. But you read the personnel policy manual. You read the Opens Meeting Act, what can be discussed and when it can be discussed in closed session. We've gotten an opinion from our attorney, and I just want to make sure we are following the rules.
Sure.
I've listened to everybody today, understand what the concern is, but I am not going to discuss this without making sure that we have followed our procedures.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Kind of. Yeah. Cheryl? I'm sorry. Is that a little better? Good.
Well, I'm going to echo some of the same comments as Della. I have watched the meeting. I have read the personnel policy manual. I think that's where this all has to start. And I don't think it would be appropriate to, the personnel policy manual calls out an investigation by the personnel director. I think that's the policy that needs to be followed. I do have a motion in that regard, if anybody wants to hear it. But I do think that long before we get to anything to do with the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, we need to follow our own personnel policy. Our township attorney has pretty much said that. And I think that's where we need to start.
Okay. So I too watched the meeting. My thoughts are, I didn't see a racial element like once was purported. I believe what I saw was maybe some views of isolationism rather than, or ignorance, if you will, to what might be required of a master plan. And in fact, towards the end of the meeting, another Whitewater Township citizen actually stood up and said, it's not required in a master plan. So I think our board did good at questioning what the professional set forth. I'm not sure, Cheryl, why your emails back and forth to the attorney seem to think we're going to terminate somebody.
No,
And-
they're not at all. Not at all. That wasn't even mentioned in my email.
And, you know, I'm not looking to scold our members as might be suggested here. I mean, I'm looking to get them training to do their job more effectively. And that's what was evident to me. Now, yes, there were miscues at the beginning of the meeting, no doubt. And there were miscues, a lot of them during the meeting. Do you feel different, Ardella?
I feel like I'm stepping on eggshells here, Ron, because have you done any interviews with the people in the planning commission?
Yes.
Okay. Is that something that you're planning on reporting to the rest of us? So
Um,
that we know that it's been done? I mean, because that's part of what I'm talking about our procedures.
So you would like to have a report?
I'm not sure it's appropriate to talk about it in a public meeting. But
What-
I would like to know of what
Your
they
requirements
said.
of me? Okay, I got
No,
it.
What they said.
And
Because
that's what,
again, I don't want to step on, I mean, because we have had emails calling for the removal of the chair. Yeah, I mean, that may not have been what you meant when you called this special meeting, but we have all seen the emails talking about it. So coming into this meeting thinking maybe that's going to be approached is because I don't have anything from you. We've got an agenda and nothing else. So I have no idea what you were thinking when you called this meeting. It's not like we had a conversation outside of this meeting because we did not.
right.
So coming in, trying to be prepared for, is this going to go to a closed session? Or are we talking about some disciplinary action? Are we talking about removal? I had no idea because there was nothing in the packet to tell me what I'm supposed to be preparing for. So, you know, questions on, like you said about training. I do believe that we've got a lot. I can talk about that. We have really new planning commission members. They, as far as I know, have no training. I don't even know if they've gotten the zoning ordinance provided to them. I don't know if they've gotten the master plan provided to them. I'm sure Kim can tell us if that's happened. They should have the copy of the employee manual. They should also have educational material for master plan. They are very, very new. And I can appreciate what the gentleman said. But if you just look at this publication, which they all should have, it does say statistics should be in your master plan. I understand what you're saying. He thought it didn't have to be, but according to this,
I will point out
it has to be.
that the same guy that was speaking at that podium wrote that book.
Well, that's good. Maybe he needs to take another look at it because it clearly says there's a whole checklist of what has to be in your master plan by law.
So I didn't see that
Well,
in
it's
the
in there.
statute,
But it's in there.
but
I
he
mean,
wrote
it's
that
in-
book.
I know, I understand it. Why doesn't he know that it lists in there that it's got to be there? There is a list.
He says that it does, and our planning commission was asking for a definition of why. And if demographics have to be in there, do you have to have the interpretive paragraph
You
that
mean the
is
few
above,
s- Yeah, the few sentences.
that is above the census data?
I think the point of the public is this was something that was not something that needed great debate. It's senses material, it's factual material. I understand what you're saying about the couple of sentences before. A lot of people like those sentences before because it tells you what it is you're looking at on this graph or these numbers. They should never be controversial, just a few descriptive sentences, and surely not something that should make somebody quit because it dives off into something else that should have been stopped. And
Sorry.
the people that are asking for a change to the planning commission have basically said that they don't, my interpretation of what they're saying, not word for word, that they lack leadership and they lack focus. They're not getting things done. And it's not the first time we've heard that. That's what they're upset about. They feel like there's no leadership there, and they're asking the township board to look at it and address it. They're asking the planning commission to look at it and address it. First thing would be education. And they never take advantage of the education that's being offered to them.
Right.
I know Kim has had citizen planner.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody, well, maybe Carl Warble, because he served on other planning commissions. This isn't his.
No,
First
to my
planning
knowledge, he
commission.
does not. That was not during the interview process. That was not revealed,
That he was on another planning commission?
that he had citizen.
Oh,
planner.
okay.
Yeah. Mhm. The other thing I noted in the meeting is that right from within the first 3 or 4 minutes, I could tell that the planning commission wanted to review. Well, first of all, Chris handed out new documents to the PC members. I think this is actually before the formal meeting started. And so all the work that they had done in reading the documents had now been erased because he provided new documents at the beginning of the meeting. They wanted to go through those documents. I'll describe it as a word by word method, whereas Mr. Grobel just wanted the planning commission members to supply a list, and then he would respond to those list of questions. And so you could see several times throughout the meeting that Mr. Grobel tried to bring the planning commission up to his speed as far as reviewing the information that he had just handed out moments ago.
He tried to refocus them back to the topic at hand.
He did, yep, several times. But again, having new information delivered to you 5 or 6 minutes before the meeting begins, I don't know if that's what it was. That certainly is not conducive to a great meeting pace.
What was it that was handed out to them? Do you know?
I believe it was the section of demographics that.
Demographics and transportation, complete new documents.
Yep. And so I don't know if they were complete new documents or not, right?
Edits, but we didn't know what had happened.
And so just like when we get something from the planning commission or from the attorney, that's a non-red line document, then we have to go through and we reread, and then we take a look at our notes and we thought, okay, well, we wanted this paragraph to give a different orientation or a different feeling. And then we end up having to redo our work, really. And so I think there were a lot of small items that came together. Maybe communication was a problem. Maybe expectations. I didn't see the first meeting that Chris Grobel was here at the Township Hall. And I don't know if he gave the planning commission expectations that, hey, I don't want to deal with questions during this process here in a public meeting. I want to deal with them written one by one, so on and so forth. So does anybody know whether or not that was done?
I don't.
So it's sad. And then when we started negotiating the contract the first time around, I had him change some words, I think, that were misspelled in the contract. And He threatened to walk away then.
I think we need to be careful. I see a pattern here. I think we need to be careful putting all the blame on the consultant.
Oh.
Because if we're looking at replacing this consultant, because clearly the planning commission needs help with the master plan. They've said they wanted help
Yeah.
with the master plan. And then we run into another situation like this because this has not been fully addressed. Then whose fault is it? It's our fault. It's the township board's fault. You can no longer blame the planning commission because if we see an issue and we just write it off as the consultant's fault instead of looking a little deeper, could there be some further direction, further training the PC could benefit from, and we don't address that? We just write it off as the consultant's fault. Then it's our fault.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I'm back to process. This meeting was set. Nothing was provided in the way of guidance about what we were going to be discussing at this meeting, other than we know we have complaints. And so I reached out to the township attorney last week to find out how does the personnel policy play into the situation that we have here. I have not prejudged any of the situation or come to any preconceived notion about what's going to happen. I think we have complaints. In order to address them, we have to go through a process. And so it sounds like what I'm hearing is from you, Ron, is that you're leaning towards not addressing those complaints. When I think that the township board has the ultimate responsibility to address those complaints. I think there's a process in our personnel policy to do that. And here again, I'm not calling for any specific outcome because how can you have any specific outcome when you haven't done your investigation? So to me, I would like to see the personnel director meet informally with each of the planning commission members and discuss the complaints, make a written documentation of what they were told and what they said. And then I think it's up to the personnel director to decide what the next step is after that. And that's what our policy says. And all I'm saying is that we need to follow the policy, and where that's going to lead us, I frankly don't know. But I think we have to follow the process.
Yeah. I think that's fair, especially to the planning commission, that we just follow the process.
Okay.
I want to be fair to them. You know, sitting in that seat right there is not easy. Leading a group of people, especially if they have no training, is not easy. The chair has a lot more work than a regular member does. I get that. But the issue that not a lot, some of the issue was the way the public perceived they were being treated. And that is something.
What do you mean?
Being laughed at.
Okay.
I mean, we've heard that. It's in the emails. It was here today in public comment.
Being called angry.
Yeah. So there, and you know, in our policy manual, it says they treat the public fairly and courteously and cooperatively. That's all of us. We're supposed to all be doing that. Planning commission, chairs, township board, any commission we have. I mean, otherwise, why would we put it in our policies and procedures manual? Why would we put it under employee guidelines? So I think there are issues to address. And you said you've You've done an investigation, you've talked to the planning commission members.
Mhm.
And I guess I would just like to know what happened, what their consensus was, what they thought happened, what they thought went wrong, where did it start going wrong? You know, and how did they feel about going forward? I guess I'd like to know that, I think that's
Sure.
the first step.
Okay, well, and so just to be clear on this meeting, right? Most of the newspaper people had been focusing on racial, right? What we hear from the public is kind of a different complaint. Yes, we were treated poorly, right? And we have not gotten a zoning ordinance to meet the master plan. So the master plan, I think, was last done around 2015 sometime, maybe late 2016 by the time, or late 2015 by the time everybody got to read a copy of it. But really, we've not moved anywhere on the zoning ordinance to support the master plan. Matter of fact, this board, as pointed out, really kind of wants to reduce 5-acre lot zoning.
But I don't want to, I don't want to get into specifics, Ron, because that's a different conversation.
I understand.
And I will only say one thing about what you've just said, is this is a process. Getting your master plan up to date and then fixing your zoning to match it. We've been working on fixing our zoning for quite a while. I mean, there are things that are wrong. That's why we sent it off to be codified.
Codification
Yeah.
doesn't fix
But
anything.
it fixes a lot of things that are inconsistent. It does, Ron. It's your first step.
No, it just organizes it.
And it fixes the fact that it's not organized, that it's hard to read. I had this conversation with the zoning administrator. Getting that done is going to be a big help for the planning commission moving forward. And I know we're in the process of that, but, you know, bringing up that our zoning ordinance doesn't match our master plan, well, the whole point of going through these processes is to make them more cohesive. But it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Would you agree?
I think what I'm hearing from the public is that 5 years is not overnight. And again, with
10 years for the first one. It was 10
so-
years for them to make a change to the master plan.
And then still no zoning change.
Yeah, well, where do you address that?
That's a really good question. So help me understand, the board had provided the planning commission a few items to work on, right? 5-acre zoning was one of them.
We wanted their
Event-
opinions, yep.
Event barn was another one. What was the third one?
Well, they came up with
I don't know,
ADUs
but we
on their
rescinded
own.
the 5-acre zoning thing,
Yeah,
so they haven't
That's
had
not on
that
their
on their
plate
agenda.
anymore. They couldn't get to it. They didn't seem to have time to get to it.
and so what was taking up their time, you think?
I don't know. I mean, looking back, we could put a list of things together. It's not like they haven't been doing anything. It's just that they're not completing a lot.
Well,
No, they do have a public hearing coming up to
When I-
complete several things.
when I took office here, there had been zoning ordinance amendments through number 67. Number 82 is going to public hearing on April 6th. So to say the planning commission hasn't been doing anything in the last 5 years is not true. They did not, for the entirety of my first term, there were no zoning ordinance amendments. That was 2012 to 2016. And then the first zoning ordinance amendments that came along in 2017. So between 2017 and now, there have been 15 different zoning ordinance amendments on various topics.
Do any
So-
of them move the zoning ordinance closer to the master plan?
Well, I don't know that.
That's your opinion. I mean,
Well-
I'm asking your opinion.
I would hope so.
So where do you think the responsibility for production at the PC lies. So there's this fine line, right? Of, does the board direct the PC? Does the board allow the PC to do their own work at their own pace? Maybe some people believe that the board shouldn't be involved at all with the planning commission. So where do we feel we should be at? Right now, I would kind of classify us as hands-off. Would you agree?
With the few exceptions where we've asked them to look at things.
Right.
We've allowed them to do whatever it is their individual body is doing. I mean, they get notice from, there's kind of a hierarchy or pecking order, or I'm not sure how to put that, but the zoning administrator will bring issues to them and they start to address them. Or as their process of going through different site plans or special use permits, they come across things, or when the zoning board of appeal comes across things that are repeated, they report it back to the planning commission and they look at those issues. So, I mean, in the past, I think the planning commission has brought their own stuff up, like the ADUs. Nobody asked them to look at it, but they spent time looking at it and putting together an ordinance that we didn't direct them to do, but they thought that it was something that I'm thinking they thought it was something that would be good for our township. So they have done projects on their own.
And aren't we really getting off topic of this meeting? You wanted to have this meeting to discuss the 311 Planning Commission meeting. And presumably you brought this agenda item because of the complaints that have been, and I don't know if I've seen them all or not.
Right.
Because of presumably you brought this agenda item because of the complaints that you have received. To me, the only thing that needs to be decided here is what is the process going forward to deal with those complaints.
But those complaints, what I'm trying to say is they don't just look towards a personnel issue. They also are dealing with a much larger issue that has been brought to the board before in form of a moratorium on special land use permits, and this board has turned it down.
And I think all of that can be dealt with in this investigation. They can proffer what their, we have the attorneys writing of, at a minimum, what that investigation should consist of. And I think then that's their opportunity, basically it's that, you're going to tell them what the complaints are and they're going to tell their side of the story. That's the investigation that has to be documented. So there's that, all that can be discussed with you during these informal sessions with the planning commission members, which I suggest should be one by one, but you can handle it however you see fit. But to me, we're just here to decide what the process is going to be. Are we going to address these complaints, or are you not going to address these complaints?
Actually, again, I see what the public is telling us is that we have more than one issue to deal with. We have the personnel policy manual, which to me is very clear. I understand what I'm supposed to do. And so we can deal with that personnel side. But how do we deal with the much larger topic, in my opinion, of this unchecked development that the zoning administrator and the attorney have both recommended we put a moratorium in place? That's the larger topic, and that's the one I'm looking for direction on.
That's going to be a long process.
What's a long process?
What you just said. That's going to be a long process. You're
I-
talking
you know,
about
honestly-
zoning ordinance changes? Those take time,
Honestly, we hired a zoning administrator
right?
and we appointed a planning commission for the township board to get in there and micromanage the process. I mean, my understanding is that Bags Road thing was just a very preliminary thing. No applications have actually happened. Nobody's breaking ground. This is very, very preliminary. I understand their concerns. I'd be concerned too. But it's at an infancy stage. It's not at the digging stage or anywhere near that. And for us to interfere with the process that's happening and not the education to the public about what's actually happening. I understand there's a lot of fear going on that this development's going to go in and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Well, it hasn't gotten anywhere near that point yet. And it's almost like nobody's listening. The fear is taking over. I don't want to be a part of that fear. Cheryl, what is the public hearing that's coming up? Is this special use permit process, the amendment to that in there? Is this one of them? You just published it. You just posted it.
There's one of the public hearings has to do with a veterinary place on the west end of the township. And right now I can't remember what the other one has to do with.
Right.
Yes, I have posted it. but-
In that case specifically, so this is directly to your remark about preliminary and plenty of time, okay? I probably have my dates wrong, but I believe the veterinarian application for the west side, we actually have 2 veterinarian offices who are trying to land here in Whitewater Township. So we might refer to them as east and west for those folks who don't understand there's multiple veterinarian clinic applications. So the one on the west was supposed to be, I think, in the March meeting, regular meeting, and didn't show up. Apparently there was an email issue and never understood they were on the agenda. So that was the preliminary review, which never took place. And now the final is on the table. So in that particular case, Stella, absolutely no preliminary submittal was made. And now they're asking for a final.
And when they come to the plan commission, more than likely, they're not going to get it.
And I don't believe that's true. Bob puts all these papers out here. And I believe, and I don't pay a lot of attention to most of them unless it's something I need to put on the website. I believe there was something over there about, yes, there was something over there because it was on the planning commission's agenda to take a look at that West End veterinary clinic or whatever.
A member
it
of the
is.
PC is here. Shall we ask if that discussion took
And
place?
we're getting way off. I really do object because we are getting way off of the reason this meeting was called.
The reason this meeting was called because there are multiple, in my opinion, multiple complaints. I understand the 2 of you focusing on the personnel issue. Got it. No problem, right?
But don't you think that some of this issue has to do with the personnel issue?
Oh, I believe they're closely related. And that's why I kind of want an idea of what the board sees as far as providing guidance to the planning commission.
I think we take one step at a time.
So
We
you want me
walk
to deal
before
with
we
personnel
run.
first?
Right, we walk before we run.
Okay.
And I think that's only fair to the people that's had complaints made against them. I care about the complaints. I care about the issues. I care about what's happening on the planning commission. But I don't, as a township board member, want to compound those problems by sitting here and discussing things, we probably should wait until after the full investigation has been done.
Okay.
I have a motion to formalize that.
Okay,
So I'm going to make a motion to have the personnel director meet informally with planning commission members in order to conduct an investigation regarding the 3/11/2022 planning commission meeting and to document the results of that investigation and provide a report to the board within 30 days.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded. Further discussion? It won't be done within 30 days. Won't be.
Okay.
So
How much time do you
that's
think you need?
unrealistic.
Well, how much time do you think you need?
I don't know. So we can say, maybe 60 days, but it won't be done in 30.
Cheryl, do you have a problem changing that from 30 to 60?
I will amend the motion to say a report to the board within 60 days.
I'll re-second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Valmuth is absent. Bennett,
Yes.
Hop,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
And will you forward that motion to me, please?
Sure.
All right. Extend due date to accept marijuana applications. So I don't.
Is there a motion?
um,
That's usually how we start this out.
Okay, is there a motion?
That's what I'm asking.
No, I'm asking, is there a motion to extend the date to accept marijuana applications?
I would think you would make the motion since you brought the agenda item.
Okay, I'll make a motion to extend marijuana applications for 10 years.
I know you're being funny here, but
No, it's serious.
well, I don't take that as a serious motion.
Want to make a different one? I don't know where the marijuana subcommittee's at, right? I mean, that's what I'm asking here. And without knowing what.
I'm not on the marijuana subcommittee.
I understand.
Well, I'd be happy to fill you in.
Okay,
The marijuana subcommittee has met twice. We have modified the application, the two applications that the board approved some time back to make them more of a checklist type of procedure, a type of document. We've added a little bit of verbiage to it. I believe, let me just pull up my notes from the last.
what I'm kind of looking for is, do you think you need another month?
Yeah, definitely another month. I don't think it'll be done in the next month.
Okay,
So we're starting on a flow chart and we are reaching out to the township attorney with respect to the appropriateness of interview questions. That's basically what's been done so far.
application review questions.
No, not with respect to the application, just general interview questions.
So would 90 days be more appropriate for a motion? From the marijuana subcommittee perspective?
What does that take us through? This is March or May, June.
So looking at.
I would say the committee needs to meet a couple more times. So that would be April and May. and then have something recommended to the board for their June meeting.
So that'll be like June 7. Is what I have for a June date. Does that sound right to you?
Let me look. I don't think that's the date.
The other question is, where are we at with the amendments to the zoning ordinance? No clue?
No, do you want to know? I'd be more than happy to fill you in.
We didn't want to hear from her before. I don't know why we would want to hear
Well,
from her
because we
now.
have a specific question on being able to,
Well, I can answer that because I was advised that I need to set a special meeting ahead of the Planning Commission's next regular meeting, which is to happen on April 6th at 7 PM. And they're going to have a special meeting at 6 PM on that date to, one of the topics is zoning ordinance amendments. Now, I don't know exactly what's going to be discussed, but certainly they're planning to address zoning ordinance amendments on April 6th at 6 PM.
Do we want to hear from the planning commission person what the
I
interim?
would like to hear.
Okay. Cheryl, are you good with that?
Our June meeting is the 14th. I don't have a problem with that.
So I have June 1st being a Wednesday. Oh, yep. So it'll be on Flag Day then. So the motion in front of us is being revised. And so we'll extend the date to accept marijuana applications until, let's make it a day after that meeting.
I would, yeah,
Is that okay? So
I think you should, so that
you want more than
this
one day?
special meeting, when we, I think,
You want more than a day?
whatever, you're revising the date to extend the date to what? A day or two.
Okay, so let's make it then Thursday, June 16th.
So we're not going to hear from Kim then?
I think that would be up next, right? Or we could include it as part of the discussion now that we have a motion, but not a second yet.
I'll second for
Okay.
discussion purposes.
Okay. Cheryl, you want to hear from Kim?
Sure, as long as it's not too lengthy. I think just a quick update.
Given that we're out Zoom, I'll come ahead and come up to the microphone. You just want to know where the PC's at with our ordinance review or with marijuana or with both?
I think this topic is
Just
strictly
marijuana.
marijuana.
Marijuana, we have not been able to work on marijuana since the first of the year, when it was brought to our attention that, in the opinion of the attorney, and our ZA, that our special use permit did not have a section of the ordinance, did not have everything that it needed. So we have not worked on marijuana since then. It is set for the early special meeting before our regular meeting. I don't know if we'll get to it because we have a couple other critical items in front of it. And there are 3 of them, so I don't know that we'll get there. But I would assume that in order to complete the marijuana ordinance, it will need at least 1 full meeting, being able to go through our draft, which is addressing the concerns that were brought to us in the public hearing last year. I know you've been told that all we had to do after the public hearing was pass it and it was done. But I believe, and at the time the PC expressed the same sentiment, that a public hearing is when you hear the public and what you hear is that they're very unhappy or concerned with what you're putting forward, you take another look at it. And that is exactly what we have done. The document is prepped, it's ready. The questions are embedded in the document. You will be able to see those as soon as the packet goes out. What additional items, I've highlighted it, what items we're not looking at, and what items we're specifically taking a second look at to see if we need different standards. I think one full meeting, if we were to have a full meeting on it, and then maybe one more to approve diagrams illustrating setbacks. That's one of the requests that we've had repeatedly, that would be very helpful, and it will be ready for public hearing. When we'll have a chance to actually get a full meeting for it, I can't say.
Any comments, board?
Oh, I don't have any.
Thank you. So I heard 2 full meetings, so that'd be 2 months. But then I also heard when we get a full meeting, it'd be tough to say. So I assume that means the only thing on their agenda, excuse me, docket would be marijuana. So June is possible. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Okay, and so then the motion is to extend marijuana applications.
The delay in acceptance, I think that's how we have been wording them.
Right, so I think maybe you want to modify your motion a little bit. So it's a motion to delay the acceptance of marijuana applications until June 16th.
Yep, Thursday. Mhm.
Okay. Goss, yes. Valmuth is absent. Pop,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Any board comments or discussion? Second public comment. So I did receive an email, I think you all did too, from Heidi, but she's asking me to read her email as public comment. It is very important, and so this is from, I assume, private citizen Heidi Vollmuth.
Can we get the date on the email?
The 27th at 12:29 p.m. So Sunday. It is very important that a moratorium is placed on the application process and the special use permits. Anyone object to 120 days. This would take us past the election and give a little breathing room to get our house in order one way or another. The issue of the Planning Commission needs to be investigated fully before a decision or solution is even thought about. Investigations usually take 30 to 60 days. Our attorney has given us a lot to think about. I asked all of you several months ago to watch the tape of a few Planning Commission meetings due to several concerns. Now it is a good time to step back, watch several meetings, and gather the homework to understand a complete picture. There are other issues that need addressing besides the ones during the last meeting. There are many solutions available to us, and we need to act wisely. We have lots of time. Remember to avoid gross leadership failure by being proactive instead of reactive. In closing, if you have not watched the past few Planning Commission meetings more than once, please review them again and ask yourself what's missing and why. These are my thoughts and concerns. And she does sign it, Heidi Volmuth, Whitewater Township trustee. Okay, so I'm going to go out to Zoom for public comment, and we'll switch it up a little bit. If you have any public comment, please raise your hand. And so that is a button in the lower section of the Zoom screen. If you just take your cursor down towards the bottom, you'll see several icons pop up, and one of them is a raise your hand. Seeing no hands, we'll come here to the Township Hall. Any public comment here at the Township Hall?
Good morning. Thank you again for allowing us to speak. I took down some notes during this meeting. The zoning ordinance and master plan, it was mentioned, it was provided to the Planning Commission. And it was also mentioned how outdated it is, and for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, worthless. Heidi has been the only board member that's been in a lot of the PC meetings. I echo what Heidi wrote about maybe going back and watching some of those. I have a question. I don't know if you can answer me. Who is the personnel director?
I am.
Okay, thank you. We were all wondering that back there, so thank you for clarifying. We've not moved anywhere on zoning ordinance. Master plan is not up to date. These are some of the comments that were made today. You admitted we're not in a place where we should be right now. It was mentioned several times, moratorium must be in place. Cheryl had mentioned that we were at number 82, not really sure of how many we're looking at. Is it 82 out of 200 to kind of give us an idea of where we stand? And Ron, you're correct. The complaints are not just about personnel, although that meeting was certainly it didn't go in the direction I don't think anybody intended, and I don't think that anybody started that meeting with that thought. And I'm certainly not wanting anybody to be attacked personally. I don't think any of us thought that. Training would be awesome. We need to have ordinance master plan that are updated and legal. And it's interesting, the zoning administrator and attorney recommended putting a moratorium in place. I feel you all have been saying that that's what you're listening to. So I think it just clarifies that. But yet there was a question of how long will that take? I really don't care how long it takes. Things are in such a mess that I think we really do need to take a step before we end up having a township that none of us want to live in. And Cheryl, you mentioned something about the last meeting, and that vet was not at the meeting. I was at that meeting, and we heard afterwards that there was clarification that there were emails back and forth, some mix up or whatever, I'm not really sure. But there was no discussion, and it is up for final on April 6th. We keep being told we're in the preliminary stage of Baggs Road. Who's to say this won't happen to us? We cannot wait for digging, guys. A moratorium needs to be in place. We need to get our township in order. Thank you.
Anyone else in the township?
Linda Slopsma. I'd like to thank all three board members for coming out today and having the discussion. I know sometimes it was maybe a little confusing and frustrating, but I do think you guys came to reasonable conclusions. So I want to thank you for that. I also want to echo what I heard a lot of comments that were, I think, very instructive to all of us. The need for training at our PC. We have a lot of new members. doing their homework, making sure that they take on what they actually can reasonably prepare for and accomplish in a meeting would be a suggestion I would make. I do also believe that the board needs to take a very close look at a moratorium, because if we are exposed to risk because of out of date or confusing or poorly written zoning, whatever you want to call it, it seems like there's multiple problems. I think we really need to think about protecting our community until we can get our house in order. So, and I don't expect you to address that in a light manner. I realize it's a big decision, but I think that the entire board needs to take an opportunity to really review the data and decide, what your individual positions are on a proposal such as that has been in front of you in the past, as well as the opinion from Bob Hall. Possibly he could elaborate on that, and possibly also the attorney. So thank you for considering that, and thanks for your time today.
I guess my comments, two in particular. One is, I believe you've come to the right decision in terms of looking at the PC and understanding, from a HR point of view, that what are the issues that exist within that organization, and maybe it'll shed some light as to where to go. The second part is, for those of us who have followed the development of the 5-year plan, we still need expertise from outside of the PC. We need that knowledge that exists out there. People who have worked with other townships, with other growth issues, perhaps, reinstating Chris Grobel's contract is one option, or finding, someone else that fits better. But please don't lose sight of external expertise in this whole process. We need that, because we cannot predict where the next set of issues will be. And I'm a firm believer that developers will find whatever hole they can to work it, and their motive is generally profit. So when they move, they want to move fast. So, protecting all of those holes is important to every one of us. I guess the moratorium, June seems unrealistic. This is a deeper hole than any of us really thought. I'd suggest you become more realistic and put it out there at least after the August ballot. Those two items are tied together hand in hand, the August ballot and the issues around accepting marijuana applications. So I don't know when and where you could revisit that, but to me, just setting short-term moratoriums never is the answer, because we've done that many other times with many other issues. Thank you.
Anyone else here in the hall?
Kim Angus, 1214 Cerro Drive and 5101 Brown Bear Lane. About 50-50 these days. I wanted to take an opportunity to clarify as many things as I can in 3 minutes. The board doesn't have a liaison right now, so you're not getting all the information coming back to you the way it should. So one thing I want to clarify for the public, just to make things easier when you're looking through things, the proposed condominium development is on Baggs Road is a site condominium. It is not a PUD. There's been a lot of confusion because someone here was referring to it as a PUD, saying we're using PUD ordinances. we do not use the PUD ordinance, which we have for site condos because we have an ordinance for condos. So it will help folks if they're looking at the right article in our zoning ordinance. It actually happens to be one of the ones that's up to date. As to the 5 acre, it was brought up what we were doing with that. We were preparing a survey when COVID hit. We put that on hold because we weren't together and we couldn't bring people in general for comment. When we started meeting again, we agreed to roll that survey into our master plan survey. So it has not been dropped. It just hasn't been completed. The veterinary clinic, there was no preliminary site plan review. Documents were sent out, but the applicant was not given the correct date at the correct email address. So they were unaware of it and did not make it. In order to continue and proceed with the project, they went ahead and submitted their final with their final prints and additional documentation so that they could hopefully move forward. But it does mean we'll be looking at our initial review and our final review together. And if there's a delay, we can add that as a condition. If there's something that they can resolve, it can be added as a condition of their approval or disapproval. The agenda for our April meeting, our regularly scheduled meeting that will occur at 7 o'clock, includes a public hearing to touch up the beginning of Article 25, which is site plan review, to address the fact that we also have our rules for special use permit in that article. There is a second amendment that is addressing all of the rules for special use permit. So the original request for a moratorium of touching up our special use permit, we do have prepared, ready to go to you, but 30 to 60 days until you can adopt it would still be a really good idea. Because depending on whether or not you send that off to the attorney as well, it's going to be a while before it's on the books, bare minimum. The Planning Commission was making good progress on the ordinance. When everything went out to recodification 2 years ago, we put that on, not entirely on hold, but we slowed down on our work on the ordinance because we had the recodification process going through, reorganization. That was supposed to tell us prioritize which ordinances are and aren't in order, which ones are the most compliant, which ones are the least compliant with the law, so that we could prioritize our work on the ordinance in order of greatest need per legality. That has not gone anywhere. As to a consultant, I fully agree that we should have a consultant to work with us on the master plan and on touching some of the, helping touch up some of the more technical areas and aspects of the zoning ordinance. It was very helpful to have Chris help on the special use permit. But we do need a consultant who's willing to consult and answer questions, even if they're beneath them. I do not expect the Planning Commission to accept an answer or accept no answer because I said so. We need someone who's willing to work with us and actually answer questions and realize that we may have questions about process, we may have questions about content. And just because we ask a question or I ask a question, is it required, doesn't mean I don't know the answer. Sometimes it's because I want the other person to give the answer. I know that did not come across well in the meeting, but we were being told things were mandatory that are not mandatory. They're optional. They might be best practices, but they're not mandatory and certainly not in that format. And the last thing I want to say, you have a magnificent opportunity here. You have lots of interest, lots of people that are involved. Complete our board. Holy smokes, we're at 5 people. It's a 7-member board. This board functions best when it's a full board. We have not had more than 5 people in 1.25 years. Take advantage of the addition. When new people came in, we lost them again.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
please, I know you put more people on,
That was at what meeting?
but Mickey was gone by the time Al showed up. So we've still only had 5 or less. Whatever you can do, milk the extra interest, to take someone who's interested and engaged and fill the empty chair, at least one of the empty chairs that we have. That won't change the fact that it's not an experienced person, but it is an interested person. And previously I've asked the PC, shall we take this to subcommittees so that we can get it done faster? And the comment I got back was, we are a subcommittee. How much more are we going to taper it down? There's only 4 of us. Got it. I appreciate you looking at this matter. And I think private is probably the best way to do it. I will have more notes to deliver, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the township hall? So we do have hands up on Zoom now. And so, good morning, Connie. I see your hand is up.
Good morning again. So a couple things. The thought that the condominium development is in the early stages, the developer has gone through and done a lot of work already. That map that was put up in the township hall on the 2nd of March looked like a lot of planning has been done by them. Some of it, I didn't understand how it got to that point because of there not being green space and there not being the fact that it's not conducive to the other areas. There are no other condominiums within the area in Whitewater Township with that many homes on that type of parcel of land. So to me, it's not the beginning stages. It does make me nervous knowing that the developer has gone through and jumped through a bunch of hoops already making the plan. I know that there's a lot still to be done. I know that there's a lot that they still have to do and prove, and looking through the ordinances, I see that. But to us as property owners and neighbors of that development, it does make us nervous. You know, we can't wait for the ground to start being broken. We can't wait for stakes to go in the ground before we make it heard to you how important this is to us. That's my piece of rural land that's out there. So it is important. And I don't think that the township board, a comment was made, the township board cannot be hands off. You're elected officials that appoint and dismiss PC members that look at things carefully and make decisions for us as taxpayers. So I think that those things are important too. When I think it's the chairperson of the PC just stated that this is not a PUD. If I'm mistaken, please correct me, because I've focused on this once before, that Article 28, Section 11, Paragraph D, planned developments. The procedural provisions of this section shall not apply to condominium developments which are reviewed and approved through the special use permit planned unit development procedure, Article 31 of this ordinance. So am I not reading that correctly? Because that just seems like it's black and white to me. It's not a planned unit, then what is it? I don't know. I'm looking at that under Article 28 condominium development regulations. So I don't know where the confusion lies. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'm glad that this was discussed. I was kind of surprised that it hasn't been discussed in the township at the board level, that no one has talked about all these terrible emails and comments by the public. Lots of people have seen that video over and over and over again. So, you know, the behavior of that committee was out of control that day. The laughter and the things that went on, it just was unacceptable. I hope that we pause and stop movement on important matters within the Planning Commission and the board, because there are things that have to get in order first. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.
Vern, good morning.
Good morning, Ron. Thanks. I don't really want to comment too much on the PC meeting that happened in March. I think anybody who listened to it or was part of it agrees that it kind of spun out of control. But in no way was this a typical meeting for the PC. The PC has gained a lot of respect from the community over the last couple of years, and they've gotten that because they are very transparent. They're willing to listen to the public, and they're listening and trying to process the input from the public. And so I've really appreciated that. Ardella, your comment with regards to the condo proposal, and it's too preliminary, to me, that's just an amazing comment. Getting public comment is very important, and the sooner you get it, the better. You said that they haven't even broken ground yet, but once they break ground, it's too late. So please listen to the community and don't ignore that. You also said, Ardella, that the community needs to be treated with respect. But as you know, there is one person on this board who has called people in the community Nazis many times. Another member where she calls community members as stupid. And I'm still waiting for the clerk to provide me an apology for the childish, unprofessional, and derogatory comments that she made to me and my wife in a public board meeting. Still waiting over a year now, Clerk Goss. And how many times have you heard during the public comments at the end of the board meetings in response to some behavior from the clerk and the treasurer, where the public has said, wow, wow, wow. And again, I'm not condoning what happened in the PC meeting, but please take a look in the mirror. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Sherry. I know it's not Sherry, but you're up next.
Hello, my name is John Boucher. I live
Hello,
in
John.
Clearwater Township on Hoyles Drive, and I'll try and be brief. In general, I strongly oppose the condominium project or any other large project that does not reflect the rural nature of the area. That said, I wonder if the zoning regulations do not match the intent of the master plan. If the two were equal, I don't think we'd be having this meeting. So quite possibly you need to get your act together, ask the voters, ask the people you represent what they would like for the plan for their township, and make sure that anything that is against that is not legal. That would be the end of it. So I think you need to reconcile those two ideas. That's it. Thank you.
I don't see anyone else with a hand up out in Zoom land. So motion to adjourn.
Yes,
Go ahead. Are you making that motion, Dell?
yes.
I'll second.
Motion made. and
Hello.
seconded. Further discussion?
Somebody just.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, is there more public comment?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Could they speak up? please?
Okay.
Is there more public comment from Zoom? Still want to make that motion?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Goss, yes. Val Muth is absent. Pop,
Yes, at 10:39. Thank you all for attending. Will you forward a copy of the recording?
When she gets back.
Well, I need it before then. It'll be
She'll be
here.
back Wednesday.
Like I said, I need it before then.
Well, I'll see if Lois can do it remotely. She's not here.
It comes to the Zoom email address.